The great council chamber stretched like a metal canyon, its curved walls reaching high into shadows. Empty seats dotted the massive room like missing teeth. Ambassador HFY of the Veltar hegemony shifted his forearms nervously as he looked at the vacant section where humans used to sit. 3 months had passed since they left. 3 months of silence. The trade dispute between Sector 7 and the Mining Guild requires immediate attention, announced Speaker Korth, his voice echoing in the too quiet space. The reptilian being's scales clicked as he moved, a sound that seemed louder now without the soft murmur of human voices that once filled the gaps between official business. HFY remembered those voices, always calm, always reasonable. The humans never shouted like the Andromedans or hissed like his own people when angry. They just spoke quietly and somehow everyone listened. Now the chamber felt hollow. "Where are the human representatives?" asked Councillor Vexnia from her floating platform. Her tentacles writhed with impatience. "This trade route passes through their territory." "The humans withdrew from the council," Speaker Korth replied, his tone carrying just a hint of annoyance. "They sent their formal notice exactly 92 standard days ago." HFY had been there that day. He remembered human ambassador Sarah Chen standing at the speaking platform, her small frame somehow commanding attention from beings 3 times her size. She had not raised her voice. She had not made accusations. She simply read a short statement about fundamental philosophical differences and pursuing different paths forward. Then she had bowed slightly, gathered her papers and walked out. The other humans followed. All of them. They left behind their offices, their equipment, even their plants. Everything except a simple data pad containing their formal withdrawal from all council treaties and agreements. "Good riddance," muttered Councillor Drakthol from the war faction. Aggressive little mammals, always sticking their noses where they did not belong. Several other council members made sounds of agreement. The humans had only been part of the galactic community for 47 standard years. Newcomers. Children playing at politics with species that had been spacefaring for millennia. Yet HFY felt uneasy. Something was wrong, but he could not name it. The trade dispute dragged on for hours. The Mining Guild wanted higher prices. Sector 7 refused to pay. Both sides threatened to break their contracts. In the old days, a human representative would have suggested a compromise. They always found middle ground that somehow made everyone happy. Not today. The argument ended with both sides storming out, their trade agreement in ruins. After the session, HFY walked through the station corridors. Everything looked the same but felt different. The human quarters stood empty, their doors sealed with official council locks. Through the transparent walls, he could see rooms frozen in time. A coffee mug sat half empty on a desk. A picture of Earth's blue oceans hung on one wall. Strange, is it not? The voice belonged to Kira Esch, a female from the Peaceful Theta Collective. Her large eyes held concern. "I keep expecting to see them in the hallways." HFY nodded. "They were always here. In the libraries, the meeting rooms, the observation decks. I never realized how much space they filled until it became empty. My people received a message from them last week," Kira Esch said quietly. "Nothing official. Just a data packet with improved water purification designs for our new colony. No explanation. No request for payment or favor. They just sent it." This surprised HFY. The Veltar had received something similar. New shield harmonics that made their ships 30% more efficient. The data came from an unknown source, but the mathematical signatures were clearly human work. "Why would they help us if they left the council?" he asked. Kira Esch shrugged, a gesture she had learned from humans. Perhaps leaving the council does not mean abandoning kindness. Over the following days, HFY began to notice other things. Small problems that used to solve themselves now lingered. The station's air recycling system made strange noises that the maintenance crew could not fix. 3 minor diplomatic incidents erupted between member species over trivial matters. A pirate attack on a civilian transport went unanswered because the patrol schedule had somehow gotten confused. He checked the records. In each case, humans had been quietly handling these issues. Not through official channels, but through informal networks. A human engineer would fix problems during off-duty hours. Human diplomats would have private conversations that prevented conflicts. Human security advisors would coordinate patrols between species that did not trust each other. All of it unofficial, all of it invisible. The humans had never asked for credit or recognition for this work. They simply did it because it needed doing. Computer display human activity logs for the past year, HFY commanded in his private office. The data that appeared made his heart race. The humans had been involved in solving over 3,000 minor issues. Equipment repairs, communication problems, small disputes, scheduling conflicts, resource shortages. Each problem tiny by itself, but together they formed the invisible foundation that kept the council running smoothly. Now that foundation was gone, HFY tried to contact the human homeworld. His message bounced back with an automated reply. The Terran Federation is not accepting communications from Galactic Council member species at this time. He tried other human colonies. Same response. Every human world had gone silent, not dark. Silent. Their ships still moved through space. Their beacons still transmitted navigation data. Their trading posts still operated, but they would not talk to Council species. It was as if humanity had built an invisible wall between themselves and their former colleagues. Sir? His aide, young Vexcol, entered the office carrying a data pad. The Outer Rim monitoring stations have gone offline. All 12 of them. HFY felt a chill run through his body. Those stations watched for threats from beyond the galaxy's edge. Pirates, raiders, unknown aliens. The humans had built them as a goodwill gesture when they joined the Council. Mechanical failure? He asked, though he already knew the answer. No, sir. They simply stopped transmitting, all at the same time. HFY stared out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was doing something, building something, planning something, and the Council had no idea what it was. For 47 years, humans had been part of the galactic community. They had shared their knowledge, solved problems, prevented conflicts, and asked for very little in return. The other species had seen this as weakness, as primitive generosity that could be taken for granted. Now the humans were gone, and the small problems they had quietly fixed were growing into big ones. HFY opened a new message file and began typing a report to the Council leadership. Someone needed to pay attention to what was happening. Someone needed to understand that humanity's quiet departure might be the beginning of something much larger. Outside his window, a human cargo ship passed the station without stopping. It did not respond to hails. It did not acknowledge the Council's authority. It simply flew past as if the station did not exist, as if they had all become invisible to human eyes. The thought terrified him more than any threat from the rim of space. 6 months had passed since the humans walked away. The Galactic Council's emergency session alarm rang through the chamber like a death cry. Representatives rushed to their seats, their faces showing worry and confusion. Speaker Korth's scales had lost their shine. Stress, HFY realized. The reptilian leader looked older, more fragile. "We face a crisis," Korth announced. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium reports losses of 43 billion credits. Their cargo ships are being destroyed at an alarming rate. The holographic display showed a star map marked with red dots. Each dot represented a destroyed ship, a dead crew, a failed trade route. The pattern spread like a disease across the galaxy's shipping lanes. "Pirates," growled Councillor Drakthul. "We need more warships, bigger weapons. With what crews?" snapped Trade Minister Vexnoth. "Half our patrol pilots quit last month. They say the job is too dangerous now." HFY studied the map. The attacks were not random. They followed specific patterns, hitting the most important trade routes first. Computer overlay human patrol schedules from 1 year ago. The display changed. Green lines appeared showing where human ships used to patrol. The red destruction dots clustered exactly where the green lines used to be. Uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. "The humans were protecting those routes," whispered Counselor Kira Esh. "We never asked them to. They just did it." "Impossible," Drakthul snarled. Their ships were small. Their weapons were primitive. They could not have made such a difference. "Then explain the map," HFY said quietly. More bad news arrived hourly. The Andromedan mining colony in the Kepler system had gone silent. 2 million colonists vanished. Their distress beacon had transmitted for exactly 37 minutes before cutting off. Rescue ships found empty buildings, abandoned equipment, and no signs of violence. The colonists had simply disappeared. "Slavers," suggested someone. "Pirates with advanced ships? 2 million people?" Kira Esh's voice cracked. "What kind of ship can carry 2 million prisoners?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Zexai's personal computer chimed with an incoming message. Anonymous, but with mathematical signatures he recognized. The Kepler colony residents have been relocated to safe facilities pending resolution of the cesium contamination in their water supply. Medical treatment is being provided. They will be returned when their world is habitable again. Who sent this? Demanded Speaker Korth. Unknown, Zexai replied, but his hearts were racing. The message style, the clinical precision, the quiet competence. It felt human. More reports flooded in. The Centauri Gate network was experiencing random failures. 3 agricultural worlds had crop diseases that no one could cure. The interspecies communication system kept breaking down. Minor technical problems were becoming major disasters. Counselor Yargeth, the scientific representative, pulled up historical data. Computer, show me maintenance records for all council infrastructure over the past 5 years. The results were shocking. Humans had been involved in maintaining 73% of all council systems. Not officially. The records listed them as consultants or technical advisors, or sometimes not at all. But their fingerprints were everywhere. The station's gravity generators, human-designed improvements, the air recycling systems, human efficiency modifications, the communication networks, human encryption protocols, the defensive shields, human harmonic tuning, all of it working perfectly until the humans left. Now everything was slowly breaking down. How did we miss this? Korth asked weakly. Because we never looked, Yargeth replied. We assumed our technology was superior. We never realized they were quietly fixing our mistakes. Zexai remembered conversations with human engineers. They never boasted about their work. They never demanded recognition. They would simply say, I noticed a small problem, and then fix it. The council species had interpreted this as helpful but primitive behavior. Now they understood it differently. The humans had not been learning from the council. They had been teaching the council so gently that no one noticed. Emergency after emergency piled up. The Veltar military attempted to establish new patrol routes using their own ships. Within a week, they lost 6 vessels to pirates. The pirates seemed to know exactly where the patrols would be, exactly what weapons they carried, exactly how to avoid or destroy them. It is impossible, Admiral Kethvar reported to the council. Our ships are faster, our weapons more powerful, but these pirates fight like they know our every move before we make it. Perhaps they do, Zexai said thoughtfully. Computer, display tactical analysis of human patrol methods. The data showed something remarkable. Human ships were indeed smaller and less powerful, but they patrolled in patterns that seemed random, yet somehow covered every important area. They shared information instantly between ships. They responded to threats with perfect coordination. Most importantly, they never tried to destroy the pirates. They simply made piracy unprofitable by being everywhere the pirates wanted to go. Deterrence, not destruction, Yargeth observed. Elegant. And completely beyond our ability to replicate, Admiral Kethvar admitted. Our crews cannot coordinate like that. Our communication systems are too slow. Our patrol patterns too predictable. The session ran for 18 hours. Each report brought worse news. Trade routes failing, colonies in crisis, infrastructure breaking down. And underneath it all, the growing realization that the humans had been holding everything together with invisible threads. We need to contact them, declared Trade Minister Vex Noth. Offer them concessions, better trade deals, technology sharing agreements, whatever they want. Speaker Korth activated the main communication array. The message to Earth was simple. The Galactic Council requests immediate diplomatic contact to discuss mutual concerns. The reply came within minutes. Not from Earth. From an unknown source in deep space, a single line of text. The Terran Federation is no longer accepting communications from Galactic Council species. They are monitoring our transmissions, Kira Esh realized. They can hear us, but they choose not to respond. This was somehow worse than being cut off completely. The humans were watching, listening, judging, and finding the Council unworthy of their attention. More colonies reported problems. More trade routes failed. More systems broke down. Each failure revealed another invisible contribution the humans had made. They had been the Council's maintenance crew, police force, diplomatic corps, and emergency response team all at once, and they had done it so quietly that no one noticed. Now they were gone. and the council was learning the true cost of taking competence for granted. Zexhai stood alone in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness, humanity was building something new, something the council could not see or understand. The thought should have been terrifying. Instead, he found himself hoping they would succeed. The council had failed them. Had failed everyone, really. Perhaps it was time for something better. A soft chime indicated another anonymous message. Zexhai opened it with trembling hands. Water purification systems for Kepler colony will be completed in 37 days. Colonists remain healthy and well cared for. No further communications required. The humans were still helping. Even after being ignored, dismissed, and taken for granted, they were still saving lives, still solving problems, still being human, but they would no longer do it as part of the council. They had found a better way. 1 year after the humans left, the galaxy was dying. Zexhai stood in his office reading reports that painted a picture of complete collapse. 7 colony worlds had become uninhabitable. Their terraforming systems had failed one by one, turning breathable atmospheres into toxic clouds. Millions of beings had fled to overcrowded refugee camps on other planets. The terraforming equipment is too complex, complained Chief Engineer Mordek over the communication link. We cannot understand how it works. The human maintenance logs are written in technical language we do not recognize. This was the problem everywhere. Human technology looked simple on the surface, but when council engineers tried to repair or maintain it, they discovered layers of complexity that made no sense. The humans had disguised advanced systems as primitive tools. Sir, his aide Vexicol entered the office carrying another stack of data pads. The economic reports you requested. Zexhai scanned the numbers with growing horror. Galactic trade had dropped by 67%. Shipping costs had increased by 400%. Pirates controlled major trade routes, demanding tribute from merchant vessels. The few military patrols that remained were too slow and predictable to be effective. But the worst part was the supply chain collapse. The humans had been the galaxy's logistics experts, moving goods between species with incredible efficiency. They had known exactly what each world needed and when they needed it. Their disappearance had created shortages of everything from medical supplies to basic food. The Andromedan home system is requesting emergency food aid, Vexcol reported. Their agricultural worlds depend on fertilizer from the mining guild, but the guild's ships cannot reach them safely. What about the Veltar transport fleet? Attacked yesterday. 3 ships destroyed, 2 captured. The pirates knew their exact route and cargo manifest. Zexhai rubbed his forehead with 2 of his 4 hands. The pirates were not random raiders anymore. They had become an organized force with advanced intelligence networks. They struck with precision, targeting the most important shipments at the most vulnerable moments, almost as if they had learned their tactics from someone very skilled. The door chimed and Speaker Korth entered without waiting for permission. The reptilian leader looked terrible. His scales were dull, his movements sluggish. The Centauri gate network has failed completely, Korth announced. All 17 gates are offline. We are cut off from the Outer Rim territories. The gate network had been the pride of galactic civilization, massive structures that allowed instant travel between distant star systems. The humans had helped, designed the control systems, contributed the stabilization algorithms, and provided regular maintenance. Now those same humans were unreachable, and their creations were falling apart. Can we repair the gates? Zexhai asked, though he already knew the answer. The engineering teams say it would take 50 years to understand the human modifications. The original Centauri designers are all dead. The humans improved the system so much that it became something entirely new. Something we cannot fix. Something we cannot even understand. Korth collapsed into a chair, looking defeated. Zexhai, I need to ask you something. Do you think the humans planned this? The question had been haunting Zexhai for months. Had humanity's withdrawal been a calculated attack? Had they deliberately left the council defenseless? No, he said finally. I think they simply stopped helping us. The collapse is not their fault. It is ours. How can you be sure? Zexhai pulled up his personal files, showing the anonymous messages that still arrived regularly. They are still saving lives, still solving problems, just not for us. The latest message had come that morning. Kepler colony evacuees have been relocated to New Geneva Agricultural Station. Full citizenship and work opportunities provided. Medical treatment continues. Colony world will be habitable again in 18 months. Similar messages reported on rescue operations across the galaxy. Beings in danger were mysteriously evacuated to safe locations. Planets with environmental problems received emergency aid from unknown sources. Ships in distress found rescue vessels that arrived impossibly fast and then vanished without explanation. The humans were still being human. They just were not being human for the Council. "Where are they taking everyone?" Korth asked. "Unknown. The rescue ships do not match any known human designs. The safe locations mentioned in the messages are not on any star charts. New colonies? Perhaps. Or perhaps something else entirely." Zexhai had been tracking the pattern of disappearances. It was not random. The humans were evacuating specific groups: the oppressed, the desperate, the victims of Council policies. They were offering a choice to beings whose lives had been destroyed by galactic politics, and apparently, many were choosing to leave. The communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. "Council emergency session. All representatives report immediately." The chamber was half empty when Zexhai arrived. 6 species had withdrawn from the Council in the past month, declaring independence or simply vanishing like the humans had. The remaining representatives looked scared and angry. "The situation is critical," Speaker Korth announced. "Our intelligence services have located human ships in the Outer Veil region. Long-range scouts report massive construction activity." The holographic display showed fuzzy images of enormous structures. Space stations, possibly, or ships too large to comprehend. The images were poor quality, taken from extreme distances, but they showed something unprecedented. "How many?" asked Admiral Kethvar. "Unknown." The scouts counted at least 40 major installations before they were detected and forced to retreat. Forced to retreat by what? Automated defense systems. No violence, just overwhelming electronic interference. The human installations simply made it impossible for our scouts to continue observing. Councillor Drakthul slammed his fist on the table. "They are building a rival power. We must strike before they become strong enough to threaten us." "With what ships?" Admiral Kethvar asked bitterly. "Half our fleet is destroyed or captured. The other half cannot travel beyond the inner systems without gate network support." "Then we rebuild. We recruit new crews. We develop new weapons." "From which species?" Trade Minister Vex Noth laughed harshly. "The Mining Guild has declared neutrality. The Theta Collective has closed their borders. The Zephyrian Consortium is negotiating with pirates for safe passage. Everyone is abandoning the Council." Zexhai had been studying the intelligence reports more carefully. The human construction projects were not military bases. The energy signatures were wrong for weapons manufacturing. The ship movement suggested industrial activity, not military preparation. "They are not building weapons," he said quietly. "They are building homes." "What?" "Look at the patterns. The construction schedules. The resource allocation. They are creating new colonies. New worlds. They are not preparing to fight us. They are preparing to leave us behind entirely." The revelation hit the chamber like a physical blow. The humans were not planning revenge. They were planning exodus. They were building a new civilization somewhere else and taking everyone who wanted to join them. "We have to stop them," Drakthul growled. "How?" Kethvar spread his hands helplessly. "We cannot even reach them. And even if we could, what would we do? Demand they return to a council that is falling apart?" Speaker Korth stood slowly. "Send a message to the human installations. Tell them we want to negotiate. Tell them we are willing to make changes to the council structure." The message was sent on all frequencies. The response came within hours. "The Terran Federation acknowledges the Galactic Council's communication. We have no interest in negotiation. We have moved beyond the need for council approval or cooperation. We wish you success in your future endeavors. The message was polite, formal, and absolutely final. Zexhai stared at the text for a long time. The humans had not rejected the council in anger. They had simply outgrown it. They had found something better and were moving on like adults leaving a childhood home. The galaxy would continue to collapse. More species would leave or disappear. The great council that had ruled the stars for thousands of years would fade into history. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the rim, humanity would build something new, something better, something the council would never be invited to join. 18 months after the humans departed, Ambassador Zexhai found himself leading a desperate mission into the unknown. The joint council expedition consisted of 12 ships from 6 different species, all that remained of the once mighty Galactic fleet. Their goal was simple: find humanity and convince them to return. The reality was far more complex. Long range. Sensors detect artificial structures ahead, reported navigation officer Yulnara from the Andromedan survey vessel. Distance 4 light hours. Configuration unknown. Zexhai studied the displays from his command ship. The expedition had been traveling for 3 weeks beyond the galactic rim, following energy signatures and electromagnetic traces that might lead to human settlements. What they found defied understanding. "Those are not space stations," whispered Science Officer Krental. "They are too large, too perfect." The structures ahead looked like small planets, but their surfaces showed the geometric patterns of artificial construction. Dozens of them hung in space around a young star, each one glowing with the soft light of controlled fusion reactions. "Dyson spheres?" suggested someone over the communication link. "No," Krental replied, running calculations. "More like habitat rings. Each one could support billions of inhabitants." "Billions?" Zexhai felt his heart skip. "How many structures are there?" "I count 47 in this system alone, and sensors detect similar installations in at least 6 neighboring systems." The numbers were staggering. If each habitat supported even a small population, the humans had created space for trillions of beings. Where had all these people come from? "Sir," Communications Officer Dexnor called out urgently. "We are being scanned. Multiple sources, very sophisticated sensors. Hostile," Admiral Kethvar demanded from the escort cruiser. "Negative. They seem to be analyzing our ships and crew. But there is no weapons lock. No aggressive movement." A new voice came over the intercom, speaking perfect council standard but with the unmistakable accent of human space. "Galactic Council vessels, you are approaching Terran Federation territory. State your business." Zexhai took a deep breath. "This is Ambassador Zexhai representing the Galactic Council. We request permission to communicate with human leadership regarding mutual cooperation." Silence stretched for long minutes. Then the human voice returned, colder than before. "Permission denied. The Terran Federation has no interest in council affairs. Please alter course and depart Federation space." "Wait," Zexhai said quickly. "We know about the evacuations. The colonies you have been saving. We want to discuss the crisis affecting the galaxy." Another pause. When the voice returned, it carried a note of curiosity. "Define crisis." "The collapse of trade networks, infrastructure failures, refugee populations, the breakdown of interspecies cooperation." Zexhai tried to keep desperation out of his voice. "We need human expertise to restore order." "Order." The human spoke the word like it tasted bad. "Is that what you call it? The systematic exploitation of primitive species? The slave trade disguised as uplift programs? The resource extraction that destroyed entire ecosystems?" Shock rippled through the expedition crews. How much did the humans know? "There have been mistakes," Zexhai admitted. "Errors in judgment. We want to make corrections." "Corrections?" Again, that tone of disgust. "You want us to help you manage the suffering more efficiently." "We want to prevent suffering," Zexhai protested. "Then you should have started 47 years ago when we tried to show you a better way." The communication link crackled with interference, then cleared. A new voice spoke, older and more formal. "Council vessels, this is Director Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation External Affairs Division. Your request for cooperation is noted and denied. However, in the interest of closure, I will meet with one representative to explain our position." Zexhai's hearts raced. Sarah Chen had been the human ambassador who delivered their withdrawal statement. She was alive and apparently in a position of authority. "I will come alone," he offered. "Negative. Bring your full diplomatic team. You will want witnesses for what I'm going to show you." An hour later, Zexhai found himself aboard a human transport vessel unlike anything in the Council archives. The ship moved with impossible smoothness, its drive system completely silent. The corridors were spacious and bright, designed for beings of many different species, and there were many different species aboard. Zexhai saw Andromedans, Zephyrians, and even some Veltar working alongside humans and other beings he did not recognize. They moved with purpose and efficiency, but also with something the Council ships had lost: hope. Director Chen met them in a conference room that overlooked one of the massive habitat structures. She looked older than Zexhai remembered, her hair now silver, but her eyes held the same quiet intelligence that had always made humans so effective as diplomats. "You want to know why we left?" she said without preamble. "The answer is simple. We could not fix you. Fix us? For 47 years, we tried to reform the Council from within. We shared technology, mediated disputes, and quietly prevented conflicts. We thought we could gradually introduce more ethical practices. We were wrong." She gestured to a wall display that showed historical data. "In our time as Council members, we documented 17 genocides disguised as colonial disasters. 43 species were enslaved through debt manipulation. Over 200 worlds were strip-mined to ecological collapse. And the Council leadership knew about all of it." Zexhai felt sick. He had suspected some of these things, but seeing the evidence laid out so clearly was devastating. "We tried to bring these issues to the Council's attention," Chen continued. "We were told they were regrettable but necessary for galactic stability. We proposed alternatives. We were ignored. We offered to help develop better solutions. We were dismissed as naive primitives." "So you left," whispered Counselor Kira Esch. "So we stopped enabling evil." Chen's voice hardened. "Every system we maintained, every crisis we prevented, every infrastructure project we supported, it all served to keep a corrupt system running. We realized we were helping the Council commit atrocities more efficiently, but the suffering caused by your departure is the natural consequence of the Council's own policies. We are not responsible for the collapse. You are." Chen activated another display showing the evacuation operations. "We offered a choice to every oppressed population, every enslaved species, every world facing ecological disaster. Come with us to something better, or stay and face the consequences of Council rule." How many chose to leave? Over 2 billion beings so far. Scientists, engineers, artists, farmers, families seeking a better life. We built new worlds for them, gave them citizenship in a true democracy, and asked only that they contribute to the common good. The numbers were staggering. No wonder the Council systems were collapsing. Their most capable people were abandoning them for human promises of freedom. "What about those who stayed?" Zexhai asked. "We continued to provide humanitarian aid when possible, medical supplies for plague worlds, evacuation assistance for natural disasters, food for famine regions, but we will not prop up the Council's political structure anymore." Admiral Kethvar leaned forward aggressively. "You cannot simply abandon galactic civilization." Chen's expression did not change, but something cold entered her eyes. "Watch us." She stood and walked to the window overlooking the habitat structures. "This is New Geneva Station. Population: 400 million beings from 67 species. They have clean air, abundant food, meaningful work, and democratic representation. They are building art, advancing science, and raising children who will never know the fear of being enslaved or exploited." She turned back to face the delegation. "We have 43 more stations like this. Construction continues on 100 more. Within a generation, we will have space for every being in the galaxy who wants to live free." "And then what?" Kethavar demanded. "You will attack the Council? Conquer our worlds?" Chen looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Admiral, you still do not understand. We do not want your worlds. We do not want to conquer anyone. We want to be left alone to build something better." She walked to the door, then paused. "The Federation has one message for the Galactic Council. We are moving beyond the rim to galaxies where we can start fresh. We will not return. We will not interfere with your affairs. And we will not accept refugees or communications from Council species after the transition period ends in 6 months. You are abandoning us," Zexhai said quietly. "No," Chen replied. We are letting you face the consequences of your choices. It is the kindest thing we can do. The transport returned them to their ships within the hour. As the expedition prepared to depart, Zexhai watched the human installations through his viewport. Somewhere in those gleaming structures, billions of beings were building a new civilization based on cooperation instead of exploitation, and the Council would never be invited to join. 2 years had passed since humanity walked away, and the Galactic Council was dying. Zexhai sat alone in the massive council chamber staring at empty seats. Of the original 47 member species, only 12 remained. The others had either collapsed completely or followed mysterious evacuation offers to unknown destinations. The chamber itself was falling apart. The climate control system produced alternating waves of heat and cold. The lights flickered randomly. The communication arrays worked only when they felt like it. Everything the humans had quietly maintained was breaking down and no one knew how to fix it. "Sir?" The voice belonged to his new aide, a young Veltar named Kexnil. Vexcol had disappeared 3 months ago, along with half the station's technical staff. They left behind resignation, letters expressing gratitude for their service, and hopes for a better future. Zexhai suspected they had accepted human evacuation offers. "The emergency session is beginning," Kexnil reported. 7 representatives are present. 7, from a council that once governed trillions of beings across the galaxy. Zexhai made his way to the chamber where the surviving council members sat scattered among hundreds of empty chairs. Speaker Korth was gone, replaced by acting Speaker Vornek, a nervous bureaucrat who jumped at his own shadow. "The situation reports," Vornek announced, his voice echoing in the empty space. "Admiral Kethvar?" The old military commander looked defeated. "The fleet is down to 43 operational vessels. We lost 2 more ships this week to mechanical failures. The crews lack the technical knowledge to perform proper maintenance. Trade Minister Yexgol, galactic commerce has ceased to exist. The few merchant ships still operating demand payment in energy cells or rare metals. Standard council currency is worthless. Scientific advisor Mordek, our research facilities are shutting down one by one. The equipment is too complex to maintain without human technical support. We are losing centuries of scientific knowledge every day." Each report brought worse news. Colonies abandoned, infrastructure crumbling, entire species retreating to their homeworlds and sealing their borders. The great galactic civilization was contracting like a dying star. "There is one more item," Vornek said hesitantly. "Intelligence reports indicate human ships have been spotted in the Omega sector. This was the first human sighting in months." After Director Chen's final meeting with the expedition, humanity had seemingly vanished. Their installations had gone dark. Their ships had stopped appearing on long-range sensors. Even the anonymous rescue messages had stopped arriving. "How many ships?" asked Admiral Kethvar. "Unknown. They appeared briefly on deep space sensors, then vanished again, but the energy signatures were unlike anything we have seen before." Zexhai felt a chill. The humans were still out there, still building, still advancing. While the council collapsed, they were becoming something greater. "We should contact them," suggested Trade Minister Yexgol. "Offer them the council leadership position. Promise them anything they want." "They do not want anything from us," Zexhai replied quietly. They made that clear. A new alarm sounded, different from the usual emergency signals. The chamber's main display activated, showing an incoming transmission. The source identification read, Terran Federation Deep Space Command. Vornek's hands shook as he accepted the transmission. Director Chen's face appeared on the screen, but something had changed. She looked younger, healthier. Her eyes held a serenity that Zexhai had never seen before. "Greetings, Galactic Council," she said formally. "This is our final communication. The Terran Federation is beginning its transition to extragalactic space. Our new colonies in the Andromeda Galaxy are ready to receive the last wave of evacuees. Andromeda Galaxy. The humans had traveled 2.5 million light-years to start over. We are prepared to accept the final group of refugees from Council space," Chen continued. "Any beings who wish to join the Federation should gather at the coordinates being transmitted with this message. Transportation will be provided within 72 hours, Kexanil whispered urgently in Zexhai's ear. "Sir, those coordinates are only 6 hours away by shuttle." "After this final evacuation," Chen said, "all Federation ships will depart Council space permanently. The transport gates we have established will be destroyed to prevent pursuit. This chapter of human history is ending. The transmission paused. Chen's expression softened slightly. To any council members listening, you were offered many opportunities to choose a better path. You chose power over justice, exploitation over cooperation, fear over hope. We cannot save you from the consequences of those choices, but we do not leave you in anger. We leave you in sadness, hoping that someday your descendants will learn to build something better than what you have created. Wait, Vornek called out desperately. We can change. We can reform the council. Give us another chance. But Chen was not finished. We have left automated systems in place to provide basic humanitarian aid for essential functions. Medical supplies for plague worlds, emergency rescue beacons for natural disasters. These systems will operate for 50 years before shutting down permanently. To those who choose to remain in council space, we wish you well. To those who choose to leave, welcome to the future. The transmission ended. Silence filled the chamber. The last offer, the final chance, and most of the council members were too proud or too afraid to take it. Ridiculous, muttered Admiral Kethvar. We built this civilization. We will not abandon it for human promises. What civilization? Zexhai asked quietly. Look around. This is not civilization. This is the grave of one. He stood up from his chair, decision crystallizing in his mind. I am going to the evacuation point. You cannot. Vornek protested. You are a council member. You have duties. My duty is to my people, not to this dying institution. And my people deserve better than what we have built here. Kexnel stepped forward nervously. Sir, if you are going, may I come with you? I have family on the outer colonies. They sent word that conditions are getting worse every day. Zexhai nodded. Anyone who wants a future should come. Admiral Kethvar stood angrily. This is treason. You are abandoning everything our species worked to achieve. No, Zexhai replied, walking toward the exit. I am abandoning everything our species worked to destroy. The shuttle bay was crowded when he arrived. Hundreds of beings from different species lined up at the departure gates. Engineers, scientists, teachers, farmers, families with children. The competent, the hopeful, the ones who still believed in something better. Zexhai recognized many faces. People who had served the council faithfully for years, now walking away from everything they had known. The transport ships that arrived were beautiful. Sleek, elegant vessels that moved with perfect silence. Human crew members worked alongside beings from dozens of species, all wearing the same uniform. Simple, practical clothing marked with the symbol of the Terran Federation. Welcome aboard, said a human officer, her smile genuine and warm. We are honored to have you join us. As the transport lifted away from the station, Zexhai looked back at the council chambers one last time. A few lights still gleamed in the darkness, but most of the structure was already going dark. Within months, it would be a tomb. The journey to the human transport gates took 3 days. During that time, Zexhai talked with other evacuees, learning about the new worlds they were traveling to. Democratic societies where every being had a voice. Clean worlds with abundant resources managed sustainably. Universities where knowledge was shared freely. Art centers where creativity flourished. Most importantly, worlds where children could grow up without fear. The transport gate was unlike anything Zexhai had ever seen. A ring of pure energy hanging in space, large enough for the biggest ships to pass through. Beyond it, sensors detected nothing. The gate led to some place beyond the reach of council technology. Citizens of the Federation, announced the human captain as they approached the gate, welcome to your new home. The ship passed through the energy barrier and space itself seemed to transform. The stars were different here, brighter and more colorful. In the distance, Zexhai could see massive installations that dwarfed anything humanity had built in their home galaxy. This was not just evacuation. This was ascension. On a green world orbiting a golden star, human children played with alien children in parks that stretched to the horizon. In orbital cities, scientists from 100 species worked together on projects that would benefit everyone. In space, construction ships built new worlds while artists designed beautiful sculptures that would float forever in the void. The teacher, a human woman with kind eyes, gestured to her mixed species class. Can anyone tell me why the old Galactic Council failed? A young Veltar raised her hand. Because they forgot that power should serve people, not the other way around. Very good. And what did the founders of our Federation learn from that mistake? An Andromedan child spoke up. That when you have the choice between being right and being kind, you should choose kindness. The teacher smiled. Exactly. That is why we are here, building something new. Because sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people learn from their own mistakes while you go somewhere better. Back in council space, the last few species struggled to maintain the remnants of their civilization. Some would survive,